If you don't live under a rock, you've heard the song Espresso by Sabrina Carpenter. And I'm going to be remaking the synth fill, which sounds like this. Here's my version. Let's open up a new patch of Serum. We're going to turn on oscillators A and B, and we're going to use the basic shape saw wave. Now for oscillator B, we're going to turn the unison up to 4 and the detune down to 0.06. Now I want to change the distribution of voices in the detune, so I'm going to go to global and then change my oscillator B detune setting to super, and this is just going to change the distribution of pitches in our detune. So as you saw, they were evenly spread out last time, and now they're no longer evenly spread out. The two voices in the middle are close together while the two voices on the outside are further apart. And I'm just going to turn the blend up a good bit so that all 4 voices are playing at the exact same level. Now the most important character to the sound that we're going to try to achieve is the moving comb filters. One way we can do that is we're going to turn the random phasing all the way down on oscillator B, so we're forcing all 4 voices in this sound to play at the exact same phase, but since they're all slightly offset in pitch by just a little bit, they're going to periodically interfere with each other and cause phase cancellation, which is going to create a comb filter. So to show you what's going on, I'll turn oscillator A off and just show you what's going on with oscillator B without the comb filtering, with random phasing all the way up, and with the comb filtering with the random phase all the way down. Alright, so let's turn back oscillator A on, and we're going to want to choose this sync option, no window, and we're going to turn that out to about 1.08%. So to have some more movement going on in the sound, I'm going to add a vibrato. So LFO1 is going to mess with the fine pitch, so we're going to vibrato plus and minus 1 semitone. I'm going to uncheck off this BPM rate so we can mess with the rate completely freely if we want to. I'm going to turn this to 3.3 hertz, and I'm also going to use macro 1 to control how much vibrato I want. So let's go to the matrix here, and I'm going to use macro 1 as our aux source. Let's rename this vibrato. I'll turn off oscillator B just to show you what's going on with this macro. So when the macro is at 0%, our vibrato is going to be off. And when the macro is at 100%, our vibrato is going to be up all the way. I'm going to leave this at about 35%. I'm also going to check off this trig option so that our LFO starts at the same position every time a note is played. Now for some more comb filtering, I'm going to check on the filter, oscillators A and B to here, and I'm going to go to this flanges L6 plus. I'm going to turn up the resonance to about 48%, and I'm also going to turn the cutoff to 327 hertz. I'll also turn up the drive to about 61% and our low pass frequency to 35%. Now between the sync warping on oscillator A, the cutoff frequency, the resonance, and the low pass frequency all on the filter, we're going to have a lot of movement going on with the sound, and I want things to move at different rates. So I'm going to use 2 LFOs for all 4 of these mods that we're going to mess with right now. The first one's going to be at a rate of 2 bars, and I'm going to want this to mess with the low pass frequency on our comb filter, and I'll make our modulation unipolar at a range of 25%. Now I'm going to go to LFO 3, and we're going to have a 1 bar LFO rate over here, and I'm going to mess with this a little bit differently, so it's going to kind of go up and then back down and then up again towards the end of the 1 bar sequence. This was how I thought it sounded best just for the fill for this specific song, but I encourage you guys to mess with the rates and the LFO shapes on all of these, and you're going to get different kinds of movements. So after I shape my LFO 3 to something like this, I'm going to use this to modulate the sync, and I'm going to do unipolar again for this one, and I'm going to have this modulate a range of 17%. I'm going to have this on unipolar for the resonance, and this is going to modulate a range of 18%, and I'm going to modulate our filter cutoff bipolar with a range of 20%. I've had oscillator B turned off by accident, but I'm going to turn that back on, and I'm going to show you what the sound is like right now with all the movement going on. Now I want to mess with the voicing a little bit. I'm just going to check off mono because this is a lead. I don't want notes crossfading between each other. And then I'm also going to turn the portamento up to about 30 milliseconds. I just think it sounds cool this way, although the portamento is not used in this specific fill. Let's jump into our effects now. I'm going to choose a diode 1 distortion. I'm going to turn the drive all the way up and drop the mix back to about 72%. I'm also going to activate a pre-filter and low pass this at about 7700 hertz. Next, I'm going to activate the flanger. I'm going to leave everything alone here, but I'm going to turn the feedback back to about 11%. Next, let's add some chorus. We can keep the settings here pretty much the same. I'm just going to turn the low pass filter all the way up, and I'm going to drop the mix back to about 25%. All right, now let's add some multi-band compression. I'm going to turn the ratio back to 1.9 to 1, and I'm also going to move down the low end output to about 89%. We'll also turn the gain up about 6 decibels. We have a really harsh sound right now, so let's clean this up with some EQ. I'm gonna low pass this at like 18.7 thousand hertz, something like that. I'm gonna turn the sharpness, this Q, down to about 22%. And then I'm also going to turn the gain down about 3.5 dB. Let's also turn those high mids down about 5300 hertz. I'm going to turn the Q down to like 38% here. And I'm going to drop the gain back 4.5 dB. Let's make sure we're on the peak mode as well. We're definitely getting closer where we want to be at, but we're not quite there yet. So let's add some plate reverb. I'm going to turn the size up and the pre-delay back. I'm also going to turn up the width all the way and the low cut up a little bit as well. And we could leave the mix as is. Lastly, we'll have a bit of motion going on with a high pass filter, a high 18. We'll use LFO2 to modulate the cutoff, starting from 44 hertz with a range of 24%. Then we'll also turn the fat up to about 31%. And then we're going to modulate this with a range of 12%. Let's go to our LFO3 lastly and just mess with the resonance a little bit. And as always, mess with this filter to taste. I just think it adds a little bit of character and tension as it high passes a little bit through this 2-bar cycle. Now there's one last thing we're going to add to this sound, and that's some pitch bends up, as you could hear in the actual song. So we're going to do this using an LFO here that's acting as an envelope. I'm going to uncheck BPM here and turn the rate at about 8.7 hertz, and I'm just going to adjust the curve like this. Now on both oscillators A and B, I'm going to use LFO4 to modulate the chorus pitch. I'm going to turn this on unipolar, and I'm going to have this go from -10. So what this is going to do is our sound is going to start right here at the -10 mark, and as the LFO progresses very quickly, it's going to go from a lower pitch back to the pitch we want it to be at very quickly in the shape of this LFO. So starting over here, we have the low pitch, and very quickly it's going to go back to the pitch we want it to be at. So right now this is happening at every note, as you can hear. So what we can do here is go to our matrix, and we're going to choose macro 2 as our aux source for this. So like we did with the vibrato, when we have this all the way off, there won't be any pitch bends at all. And when we have it all the way up, the pitch bend is going to be in the full range of this -10 from the chorus pitch. So I did some automation with the macros here to make the fill exactly from the Sabrina Carpenter song. So I'm going to go and paste our new pattern from the patch I just made into Serum. And then I'm also going to copy these automations that I just did. So the first automation we're going to adjust is going to be for the pitch bending. And I only want that to happen on the very first note here, and then also the note right here. And everywhere else, this trigger is going to be off so that it doesn't happen when the new notes start. I also want to mess with the vibrato and increase it as we progress through our fill, and I'm just going to simply do that with this automation clip here. Now I've added some simple post-processing with some OTT and very slight EQ, and here's what the sound is like. I hope you guys found this video useful. This is a really cool sound, and I had a lot of fun making it, so hopefully you guys can find some uses for this in your tracks as well. If you guys want sounds like this and many other sounds, check out my preset packs. I have over 300 plus professional ready to go presets on my website, rshand.com/shop. Catch yourself some great deals on presets for melodic house, melodic techno, tech house, big room techno, and any other genre you can possibly think of. I also just launched my new tech house pack, Operator Volume 1, so check that one out as well, and I'll see you in the next one, guys. Peace out.